We are honored to have with us today a very talented and distinguished leader in pharmacy and advocate for patient health. She is the Executive Director of the Pharmacy Quality Alliance, the national nonprofit healthcare organization that promotes improvement of appropriate medication use and management across healthcare settings. In this role, she oversees the development and implementation of performance measures used in federal, state, and commercial programs to improve patient care and health outcomes. She is former executive director for the Institute for the Advancement of Community Pharmacy, an organization focused on advancing innovative pharmacy practices and pharmacist-delivered services. While Vice President of Pharmacy Affairs for the National Association of Chain Drug Stores, she worked with companies to develop policies concerning state pharmacy regulations, legislation to establish a Medicare prescription drug benefit, and more. Very active within the pharmacy community and currently serves as chair of the Board of Visitors of the St. John's University College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences, as president of the St. John's University Washington, D.C. Alumni Chapter, and she also serves on the University of Notre Dame College of Pharmacy Board of Advisors. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Laura Cranston.
Good afternoon, and I want to extend my congratulations to the pharmacy students of the class of 2016. Go Cougs! And as a parent now of two young boys, I want to single out the parents and the grandparents and the friends of this class, and to Dean Pollock and the deans and the associate deans and faculty who have really spent the past 4 years nurturing, inspiring, and mentoring this class. We owe you one more round of applause. It has been a really long and I'm sure sometimes difficult journey to get where you are today, and the conferral of the Doctor of Pharmacy degree to this outstanding group of students. You are the future of our profession. And from speaking with many of you before I even got out here, speaking with some of you over lunch today, I really feel that the future is in tremendous hands. There's a quote that I keep on my desk in the office, and I'd like to share it with you today. I look at it probably 3 or 4 times a week, and it's a quote from Pablo Picasso, and he stated before he died, "The meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away." And in a world where, from the moment we're born, we are taught to conform, Pablo Picasso became a symbol for individual expression and truth. He found his gift as a painter, and he gave his gift to the world. And when I stood where you are seated today, which was in 1984, I found my gift back then, and my gift was to be able to enjoy what I am doing every day within the profession of pharmacy. My purpose is to help spread that passion for the profession by making a difference in patients' lives and by working to improve medication use and safety. Ironically, I was sharing my thoughts on this commencement address with my younger son, Ryan, who will be graduating high school in 2 weeks. And he asked me as I was reciting it to him if I knew what the Latin root, or what the root word for passion came from. And I had forgotten my Latin from pharmacy school, and he refreshed it for me. He said the word passion comes from the Latin root pati, which means suffering or enduring. Your passion for our profession comes out of your suffering, hard work, and endurance. And passion, at its core, is a form of pain that demands that it be quenched, and we quench it through our work. But I do that from a really different venue than most of you will be doing that from, because I no longer work in direct patient care. So I'm part of a community of individuals in Washington, D.C., who work in nonprofit healthcare associations who are shaping initiatives that hopefully will allow, if we're successful, you as a healthcare profession to practice at the top of your license. Soon, you're going to sit for the NABLEX exam, and you will be licensed registered pharmacists. And starting today, in another half hour or so, you will hold the title of Doctor of Pharmacy. With this, it becomes your responsibility to be an integral partner in team-based care and to help patients manage their medication therapy. Before I came out here, I had a conference call with a number of students. And from your class, some of you who are graduating today and some of you who are a couple years behind. And they shared this tremendous sense of community that you feel here on campus. And they really were saying how great it is that everyone rallies behind you and supports you. And as you're graduating today, the sense of community now needs to shift from the campus, from this student body, to a broader and more comprehensive community. This is a community of patients and practitioners, of concerns and needs, and of perspectives and service opportunities that surround us. I live inside the Beltway of Washington, D.C., and I'm surrounded by government agencies. And the single largest payer in the healthcare in our country is the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS. This department is generally headed by a physician. And the physician that held the position at HHS several years ago said that we must all take the triple aim of healthcare to heart. That triple aim is simply stated: better care for patients, smarter spending for our healthcare system, and healthier communities, and ensuring healthier populations. So as pharmacists, you're not only taking the oath of a pharmacist, but you are agreeing to embrace this triple aim for healthcare. And it is not something you're going to be able to do today, and it's not something we're going to be able to do tomorrow. But together, this is going to be our goal for the next foreseeable future. But what about the patients that you're going to serve? What about their goals? Their goals should not be your goals. Your goals should not be imposed on the patients that you are serving, but they must be their own goals, and they must be their caregivers' goals. And both the patient and the caregiver must be responsible for setting their goals, not you. In Washington, D.C., we call this shared decision-making. And it's really an important concept in healthcare, but it needs to be lived out in practice. And a personal example of this, and points to how much more we have left to do, is an example from my own life. My dad, a few years back, was suffering from a very debilitating physical condition. And not only did it affect him physically, but it also affected him mentally. And his mental acuity declined significantly. And he was put on a medication called Namenda. And he was on Namenda for several years, and it was to slow the progression of his memory loss or to help improve his memory. Well, he was on this drug for 3 years, and he just kept getting worse and worse. So one day I flew up to New York, as I often did, and I said, I want to go to your appointment with your neurologist. So we went in to see the neurologist, and I asked the neurologist, I said, I'm a pharmacist. My dad's been on this medication for the past 3 years. There's no improvement, but yet there are side effects of this medication that he is suffering from. So I'd like to discuss with you whether we can take him off this medicine. The neurologist quickly said no. It was the end of discussion. She said, no, I don't recommend you doing that. So my mother, who was in the exam room, for her too, it was the end of the discussion. And so, as his faithful caregiver, my mother continued to give him Namenda for another 3 years, until the day that he died. And so when I look at that, I said that is the worst example of shared decision-making and team-based healthcare that I had ever experienced. And for those of you in the audience, I'm sure that there's a healthcare story in your family or your extended family that may not reflect what we're trying to embrace here today. So if you want to know what motivates me in my current position to get up every morning and get going and work on this healthcare system, it's examples like that that keep me motivated. And we do that at the Pharmacy Quality Alliance. There's an adage that we use, and that we say, what can be measured can be improved. So if we want to improve something in our healthcare system, we have to find a way to establish the appropriate metrics. And there's a lot of medical evidence that goes into establishing what we should measure. And that's the work of the Pharmacy Quality Alliance. But as pharmacists, all of you, when you go into practice, trust me, in the next 3 to 5 years, you are going to learn what performance measures you're going to be held accountable in our healthcare system. And one of the important parts of measuring is measuring the patient and caregiver's experience. So just the way you think about Yelp as a social media site to measure the local restaurant down the street or a hotel or some other venue, you are going to see, mark my words, you are going to see a Yelp for the pharmacies that you're practicing in within the next 3 to 5 years. There is going to be no healthcare provider out there that isn't going to be measured in some type of way. So these are just a few of the initiatives and trends that will impact your profession as you start out in practice. It's a dynamic time to be a healthcare professional, so stay tuned to some of these larger and broader issues that will impact your practice. All right, so I have to ask you, now that you're graduating, all your classes are over, and you're going into practice, I hope that I can inspire you to read for pleasure. Okay, now this is a concept, okay, I have 2 teenage sons, one's 16, one's 18. When I say pick up a book and read for pleasure, they run for cover, okay? But I will tell you that there's a book that I've recently read, and it is called The Work, Searching for a Life That Matters. And it's written by an author, Wes Moore. And Wes, in one of the chapters, was returning home from a deployment in Afghanistan, and he was contemplating his next career move. He was a finance major, and he wanted security, stability, and time to be home with his spouse. And in order to find that security, he was going to return to work on Wall Street. And one of his mentors said to him, and I quote, if you feel the need to go and do something that you are not passionate about, for whatever reason, then that's a decision that you have to make. But I'm going to tell you, the day you feel you've accomplished what you need to accomplish there, leave. Because every day you stay longer than you have to, you become extraordinarily ordinary. So lesson 1, find your passion. Get up, go to work, and pursue your passion passionately. And if your passion dries up, move on. You have, thankfully, picked a profession with so many alternative pathways: practice, research, academia, advocacy, management, public service, and so much more. So don't let yourself become extraordinarily ordinary. I recently picked up Psychology Today, and it's a journal, and it talks about millennials. And it states, millennials, those of you born on or after 1980, have often been labeled as the fickle generation. Fickle, who change jobs and employers frequently in search of the next opportunity. In fact, the journal went on to say, before the age of 30, millennials will have 6.4 job changes and 3.5 employer changes, or almost 3 times as many job changes as me, a baby boomer. So while the journal may call this fickle, I think it simply validates what you should keep in mind as you look for the right fit. Lesson 2, strike a work-life balance. It is so easy to throw yourself into your work life, just as it is to be a 200% committed student. So whether you're entering practice, or whether you're pursuing a residency, or maybe you've chosen a totally different rewarding path that this Doctor of Pharmacy degree has led you to, I would challenge you to find balance at the outset. Maybe that balance is becoming more actively involved in your state or national pharmacy association, and I'm so pleased to hear how many of you are already very active within the Washington State Pharmacists Association, because this can be so professionally rewarding. Or Maybe it's getting married, starting a family, running a marathon, or taking up some other sport or hobby. But whatever it is, take time for yourself now, start anew, and find that right balance. Lesson 3, give back. There's a saying by Sir Winston Churchill that states, "You make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give." I encourage you to start giving back in whatever small way you can. I'm not talking about monetarily. I know you guys probably have a ton of loans, but there are so many other ways that you can initially give back. You can give of your time, and you can give of your talents, and you can give it back to WSU, or you can give it back in some other way. Some of you might be working or practicing in an underserved community or an uninsured or underinsured population. Perhaps there's a way to give back to that community. I have found my niche for the past 5 or 6 years now in serving a homeless community. So once a month, we make about 350 meals, and we bring them to 20 different locations in the city of Alexandria. And I invite the people that I work with in my office every month so that they too can kind of get caught up in this spirit of giving back. You can create that culture of giving back, whether you do it in your workplace or in your home or in your community. And lesson 4 is probably the most important. Build your network and cultivate a few key mentors. One of the most important lessons I've learned is it's really not what you know, but it's who you know that is so important in life. And I've always had the pleasure of having 3 to 4 mentors, key mentors during my career. Tremendous sounding board. They've challenged me at key points when I was thinking about making a decision, and they serve as amazingly good listeners. So as you move from student to practitioner, look for the individuals that can serve as a mentor to you. And as you grow in your career, people are going to turn to you to be their mentor. So be open to being both a mentor and a mentee. But cultivate these professional relationships not when you need something, but cultivate them throughout your career. One of our former presidents, Theodore Roosevelt, has said, "Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." And we are so fortunate indeed. I think we are very, very blessed that we have chosen the pharmacy profession, because indeed that is work worth doing. And as you embark today on your career, know that your professional degree, tied with the respect that you will earn from the patients that you will serve, will provide you every opportunity to make a difference in patients' lives every day. I wish you continued success. I wish you good health. And I wish you an opportunity to live out your passion passionately, because I know that you will be extraordinarily out of the ordinary. So go Cougs!
Thank you very much, Dr. Cranston.